changed in the world this year and what will continue to change in the future, the basic message is the same. Plan around what you know and then adjust as you go. Now, that might be easier said than done, but that's what Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is here to help you with. We'll tell you in a few minutes how you can get started on your Retire Fit analysis with Phillis, but you can always reach out to 623-792-5496, or you can find us online at retirewithpsp.com. Thanks for joining us today on Retire Financially Fit with Phillis, and I am Jen Rezac alongside Phillis. How are we doing this week?
Oh, my goodness. Just when we thought craziness, we've seen the most of the craziness. Wow. I'm doing okay, though. And yeah, it just brings me back to my mantra, control what you can control.
That's exactly
right. These are crazy times.
Yes, uncertainty is the word of the year. They are crazy times. And yes, my therapist says the same thing. You take what you can control. I'm talking about the one I pay, not just you, but you say this. You act as my therapist sometimes, but yeah, you take what you can control and you work with that, and you just have to let some of the other things go and not worry about it. But Phillis, I mean, given all the uncertainty that we've had, the fact that we still don't have all of the answers with this big, messy election cycle. What do we need to be thinking about? Now what? What do we need to be thinking about from here?
Okay, well, Jen, that's the thing. My niche is working with people who are close to retirement or in retirement. And here's my mantra, regardless of what's going on, because believe me, once you retire, lots of things are going to happen and you've already accumulated what you have accumulated. So you should have a plan that weathers any storm, especially in the short run. Geesh, if this year has taught us anything, the month of March, we saw the market decline by, 30%.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Absolutely huge. So the idea is have a plan in place. And here's some things that you can absolutely control. You can absolutely control whether you have a written, easy to follow income plan in place. A plan that tells you how long your money is going to last mathematically, shows you where you're getting your income from, how much you're getting, what bucket you take it from, where you're going to get your raises in inflation, to cover inflation, all of that. That's a good, solid income plan. And whether the market's up, down, or sideways, whether Joe Biden's president or Trump is president, it doesn't matter. If you've got an income plan in place, when the market does what it does, or anything crazy happens, you've got a plan to cover that. That's number one. You really can control that. And we do that all the time. We show people when they come in for our Retire Fit analysis, we show them during that process, here's the income plan you have now. Here's what you need your money to do. It's great, or there are some gaps. And people leave with a sense of understanding and confidence in retirement when they have a written income plan. That's number one. Taxes, taxes, taxes. I talk about it all the time. But if you understand your future tax liability, what you're really going to pay in the future, because I'll guarantee you're like most people, and most of your money are in pre-tax accounts where you've yet to pay those taxes. That being said, there's a future tax bomb more than likely in your future. The idea is you don't understand how much that's going to be. Well, you need to. You should understand what your future tax liability is, how much you're going to give of your hard-earned money back to Uncle Sam in the form of Social Security tax, in the form of just regular income tax, and have a simple tax-efficient strategy that reduces that. Taxes are on sale right now. I say this every week. Let me just give you for instance. Right now, if you're a married couple and you make $100,000, you top out the 12% marginal tax rate. Well, the way the Trump tax code is written in 2026, it's going to expire. So today, married couple, you make $100,000, you top out in the 12% marginal tax rate. You wake up January 1st, 2026, and guess what? You top out in the 22% tax rate. That's a huge, huge difference. And let me say that again, 25% tax rate. Big difference. So taxes are on sale today. You can control them, understand your future tax liability. Part of our retire fit analysis, again, is to put that information in simple terms in your hands so you can see if you have a tax bomb in your future and if there are ways to pay taxes today on that money you've yet to pay taxes on. Pay them at a lower rate so that you don't have this huge tax bomb down the road. And that's regardless of who's in office. Okay? Regardless, you can control that. Another thing that you can control is we can't control the chaotic market. We don't know from day to day. March taught us that. My goodness. But here's what you can control. How much risk you should be taking to begin with. And if you have a good retirement plan, if you've got a good plan in place, you already know how much risk you're taking. You've got it in dollars and cents, and you know what you need, what's appropriate for you. You can control that. And if you don't know how much risk you're taking in a good market, in a down market, in an average market, I welcome you to give us a call at 623-792-5496 for the Retire Fit analysis, because it will take you through all the things that you can control. Your income plan, your tax strategy, and your risk analysis, showing you how much risk you should have in your plan. 623-792-5496. These are all things within your control, regardless of what's happening around you. But you've got the key is to recognize when you leave work, or 5 to 10 years before, hopefully you start thinking about this, everything changed, and you've got to build a plan around you to handle all these things that can get thrown your way. Period. 623-792-5496. Control what you can control. That's why I wrote the book, Creating Calm Amidst the Storm, with a solid plan, well thought out. You can't control all the things that get thrown your way, but you can have a plan in place to make sure that you can be proactive, not reactive.
That's right. That number one more time, 623-792-5496. Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. I am Jen Rezac alongside. And Phillis, again, your book, Creating Calm Amidst the Storm, that's really the message that we have continued to talk about through all of the storms of this year, whether it was storms in the markets, storms in the healthcare industry with the pandemic, or storms in the political world with the election. We've seen a lot of them, but this is why we plan. Here's the other thing I want to ask you about. When you look at things like have happened this year, and we have had some of the rules change with what's going on with our retirement accounts because of some of the response to the pandemic, changing access to our retirement accounts for people who need it. Talk a little bit about whether we figure out, or how we figure out whether we need to actually do some of those things or not, because what we don't want to do is mess up our plans just because the rules have changed and we can access these accounts and that type of thing.
I strongly, so the big thing that you're referring to is the fact that if you have a COVID related need, maybe you got laid off, or somebody that, in your family has COVID and you've got to stay home for them, you can access without a penalty, that 10% penalty, up to $100,000 from your retirement account. And you could pay it back without a penalty, or you could spread the tax liability over 3 years. Right. Now, on the surface, that's a great thing. Okay, to be able to access that if you need it. But I would really caution you that retirement comes sooner than you think. That should be the last place that you take it from. Okay, so really that's where you want to look at all of your resources, and you want to understand whether that is the last ditch effort. But if you've got a good plan, you probably have other emergency accounts. I mean, if you need it, it's there, and it's good you can spread the tax liability out. But I caution you to try to hold out on that.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense. I think it's really just a matter of, again, not straying from the things that we talk about all the time, getting a second opinion before you make a big decision. I know it's been tough because we feel like there have been a lot of emergency type situations this year that make us make those emotional reactions, those quick decisions. But the message that you've had throughout this entire year, that you'll have next year and the year after that and the year after that, is that you take what you know and you plan from that, you adjust as you go, and you make sure that you get a second opinion before you do anything major as it relates to your money, right?
That's exactly right. Get the facts in place. Get educated on the things you need to be concerned with. Do the very best that you can to build a plan around that to support anything that can come your way. I always tell people I build boring retirement plans so that you can have a great retirement. We plan for the worst and we hope for the best. But I'll tell you, during this whole thing, when we called our clients in March, we got on the phone, our whole team called our clients, and it wasn't to say, I'm panicked and you should be panicked. It was more to say, how are you? Are you healthy? And to remind them that we have a plan in place so that they didn't have to react. And that's what it's all about. And it starts with a retire fit analysis. You can put a plan in place so that when life happens, you can be proactive. You don't have to make knee-jerk decisions. Those were some of the best conversations I had with my clients because they knew that they had a plan in place that was going to protect their income and it wasn't going to implode. And it all starts with understanding what you'll be faced with in retirement and then building a plan to support that. 623-792-5496. Control what you can control. It starts with a plan. 623-792-5496.
You're listening to Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Why choose PSP and Associates to handle your retirement? Because we provide objective advice and concierge service. Investments, insurance, retirement planning, all at one location. We also partner with qualified attorneys and CPAs to provide complete financial strategies for our clients. We use a variety of investment and insurance products to custom design retirement plans that can give clients a clear look at their future. And we help you stay on the path toward financial independence. If you don't want to do it yourself, you want to work with a team to create a financial strategy for your future, give us a call, 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Would you rather get retirement advice from some TV show host who doesn't know anything about you, or PSP and Associates? 623-792-5496. PSP is a registered investment advisory firm. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is an investment advisor representative and insurance professional. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal.
Medicare open enrollment has officially begun, opening up opportunities for you to maximize your coverage and maybe even save some money if you make the right choice. Let Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus and her 30-plus years of experience help you pick the plan that's right for you. Give Phillis a call at 623-792-5496 today to get started, or visit PSP and Associates online at pspassoc.com. That's pspassoc.com.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates and author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. Phyllis is a charter member of EdSlot's Master Elite IRA Advisor Group. RetireWithPSP.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And as we get back into it, if you hear something you'd like to get some answers on, 623-792-5496 is the number to call. Again, 623-792-5496. Now, when you're planning for retirement, you need to think about all the different risks that your money might face, because if you don't take steps to protect your money from risk, then your whole retirement could be at risk. Phyllis, it's a really big deal to think about not just building up our savings and saving for retirement. We also have to think about protecting it. And I know there's a lot of different threats out there. Can you talk about some of those major potential threats to our income in retirement?
Sure. So for one thing, one of the issues is not having an accurate budget of what you're going to spend in retirement,
Okay.
and then spending too much. That's really a risk that people don't talk about, or having a plan for how much they're going to spend in retirement, but not considering the impact of inflation. Inflation has got to be considered in that, because, the argument could be made that it's fairly low and that the Feds are going to keep interest rates low for a while. They've come out and said that several times, but it's insidious. It's there. It never sleeps. So you've got to have an inflation adjusted income plan. And of course, how you have your assets invested. Too much risk. Not knowing your risk is the biggest risk. How much risk are you actually taking from the impact of inflation? So if you have your money too safe, that could be a risk. If you have it too risky for your risk tolerance or how you feel and, for how much you need, that's a huge risk. Living longer than you think. So many people come in my office and they say, well, my family, my parents didn't live this long and I have this issue or that. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I'm not going to live past 90. Well, what if you do?
Right.
What if you do? What if one spouse passes away? I hope it doesn't happen to you. But prematurely, what impact does that have on your income? That's the other side. How are taxes implicated? Because there's huge ramifications of that. So that's a mistake. Simply being unprepared, being great at accumulating money, focusing on your performance, but really not understanding all the things that can come along and wipe out your life savings. Taxes. Oh my goodness, here we go, right, Jen?
Here she goes, folks.
Yeah, but seriously, taxes, not understanding, just being concerned about paying your taxes this year, having your taxes prepared, knowing what it's going to cost you this year, and not knowing what it's going to cost you down the road, and having a plan to spread it out, mitigate it, pay the least amount of taxes that you legally can. Mm-hmm. No more than your fair share. No less than your fair share. But the only way you can do that is if you understand your future tax liability as well as what it's going to cost you this year.
Right.
Healthcare risks, healthcare costs. That's a real risk. And I'm really talking about custodial care. If you need custodial care and you believe it's not going to happen to you, oh my goodness, that is a huge risk to your retirement. I've seen people who've saved very well, who've had comfortable retirements. They've done income plans where they have safe money coming in, whether the market's up, down, or sideways. And then all of a sudden, they need custodial care and they have no plan for that. And boy, that can really go through your money much quicker than you've ever envisioned. And I hate to see it, but I've seen it in all the years that I've been doing this. So how do you avoid it? You have a plan. The hardest thing about that plan is a lot of times you've been in the accumulation phase. You don't know what you don't know. Let me help you let me lay out for you, guide you, the things that you may not have ever had to consider before, but you need to consider now. That's what our Retire Fit analysis is all about. We bring that to the forefront. What are the things that you need to consider? And how are you doing in relationship to that? Real numbers, real figures, verified, plain for you to see. You've probably been, in charge of your career, your job, your kids, everything, all your life. And all of a sudden, you get to retirement. Why shouldn't you be in charge of your paycheck throughout retirement, just like you were before? And the only reason that you won't be is if you don't understand what you're going to be faced with and have a plan that you understand that you can execute. All starts with the Retire Fit analysis. Will guide you through the process of understanding what you need your money to do and what's going on with it. Pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. This is for those of you who've saved at least $250,000 or more of retirement assets. I can show you how to put together a plan that will get you to and through retirement successfully, and it will all start by by pointing out to you the things that you need to consider. 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. I am Jen Rezac alongside. And Phillis, that's a big list of risks that are out there to our income for retirement. You can see why people do get a little bit overwhelmed. I mean, there are just so many ways you can go wrong with this. I want to start with things like the risks that are maybe overlooked. I mean, we know inflation happens because we've seen this throughout our lifetime. We remember what things cost when we were kids and years ago. But with things like inflation or maybe with things like taxes, are those things that get overlooked? Are those ones that commonly people fail to plan for or fail to think about?
You know, people will come in and they'll talk to me about inflation. They're aware of that, and that's not as overlooked as taxes.
Okay.
Taxes and healthcare, people just do not consider it. Most people, they've drank they drank the Kool-Aid, and they believe conventional wisdom that it makes sense to put your money away pre-tax. Don't pay the taxes while you're working, because later on you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. And then, you know, gosh, years and years of saving without paying the taxes. You got to pay the piper later. You got to pay taxes on those retirement accounts. And boy, that it just doesn't work out that way. And people are not talking about that or thinking about that. They're thinking about, I've got $1 million or I've got $500,000 in my retirement account. Well, I'm sorry, but you don't, because you've got a silent partnership with Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam's only going to define how much of a partnership they actually have when they want to. And you know what? Maybe it starts out at 15%. They're going to take 15% of your money, but next week they could change it. So that is really ignored. That's the biggest issue in healthcare. The reason for that, not planning for that, is nobody wants to think about that.
Yeah.
They don't want to think about those awful costs or their health going away like that. So that's oftentimes ignored. And that's a big one as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's one of those ones where it makes sense that you might try to ignore it or you just don't want to face it. But when you look at the numbers with things like healthcare, now it's almost $300,000. The newest Fidelity estimates, it's $295,000 now. That keeps going up because of inflation and all of these other things. So it's a really big number that you just want to face and then start to plan. But Phyllis, the way you handle planning for this, it's not, well, let's just save up $300,000 right now and then we'll just dip into that for healthcare. Right? That's not really how this works when it comes to planning for that. You break it down into a lot smaller steps than that, right?
Absolutely. And I got to clarify something. That number that you just threw out, that 295 or 300, that's what Fidelity does a study every couple of years. And they say that's what the average couple is going to spend on healthcare costs from 65 over the next 20 years. That's the average of what they can expect to spend. But wait for it. That's just for normal healthcare costs, like your Medicare supplement, like prescription drugs, like copays. That has nothing to do with the cost of custodial care. If you need home health care, assisted living, long-term care, it has nothing to do with that, because that type of coverage is only covered from your existing Medicare supplement and Medicare for a very short time, if at all. So that is thrown out. But you're right about one thing. I don't mean to be doom and gloom. There are ways, once you understand what you need your money to do, there are very creative ways to create leverage on your money. So if we're building an income plan, maybe we can do something to build in extra income. We absolutely can, okay? Do build for extra income if you need it for custodial care. So you can take $1 and turn it into $2 or $3. Sometimes as we're doing tax planning, we'll use a strategy that will give you leverage on your money if you need it for custodial care. So as we're aware of these issues and we're building a plan, we can look at the whole universe of investment vehicles and tools to fill more than one gap. And it may sound overwhelming, but our job is to educate you and break it down into bite-sized pieces, and we guide people to and through retirement, I'd like to believe very successfully, each and every day. Pick up the phone and call us, 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. Let's get started with your Retire Fit analysis so you can see where you are in relationship to where you want to be. If there's any gaps, learn what you can do to fill those gaps in a way that makes sense for you in your particular circumstances. Not your neighbors, not anybody else. No obligation. It's complimentary. Retire Fit analysis, 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phillis, and we'll be back after this. Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. I am Jen Rizak, happy to be here alongside Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates, and she is author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. And Phillis, I know you like to jump on the trampoline with little Blake, but do you still do roller coasters? Do you like those?
Yeah, actually, I'm an enigma. I actually still love them. I do.
Man, I'll tell you.
Most people don't, though.
Yeah, it's become less fun for me with age, I will say. And honestly, the last time I rode a roller coaster, at the time it was fun. But then the next day, I was so sore. And I just felt so beat up from just, I think, clenching every muscle in my body. One of those things, I used to have a lot of fun with them, but I just don't have as much fun with them anymore. And certainly when I'm off of the roller coaster the next day, that's when I'm really feeling the pain. And I kind of think being in the markets can feel like being on a roller coaster. And the thing is, you probably don't want that thrill ride with your life savings.
Yeah, with your life savings. Yeah.
I mean, you always talk about building boring retirement plans so we can have a more exciting retirement, right?
That's what we do.
Yep.
That's what we do. And, I always start with people and to get them to visualize. Most people would not take their paycheck that pays their bills and maintains their lifestyle and do risky things with it. They just have to rely upon it. And when you're in retirement, a portion of everything that you make is your paycheck. You're replacing that. So that's money that you probably don't want to put on the market roller coaster, that money. So really what's important is to understand first, what do you need your money to do and when? And then according to that is how much risk you should be taking. Again, most people come in to see us with all their money clumped together and, in market or cash assets and they don't really have it broken down into when they're going to, into different buckets of money or to different time segments of money. And they ask me, do I have too much risk? Do I have too little risk? When you lump it together, that's a really hard thing. When we break it down as to, okay, I need this much for income. 5 years from now, I'll need this much. 10 years from now, I'll need that much. When we break it down into meaningful pieces and understand what we need the money to do when, we can then really focus on how much risk tolerance you should really have. So the answer to your question, I know you're thinking of it. Phyllis, I'm 60 years old. How much risk should I take?
Right. How do you figure it out?
It's going to be different if we're going to really do it right, it's going to be different for everybody. Please don't listen to the guy next door or your brother and sister-in-law or your boss, because everybody's different. Let's customize it for you. What do you need? How much money do you have? Do you have a pension? Don't you? What's your age? What's your health? So many things to consider. It sounds like a lot, but when we break it down into bite-sized pieces and we do it with you, not for you, and we just guide you down the path of decisions you need to make, it really becomes clear. Nobody, I can tell you this, nobody should have all of their assets in one particular vehicle, okay? It shouldn't be all safe. It shouldn't be all risk. But a well-blended plan can get people a plan that will give them solid, reliable income, whether the market's up, down, or sideways. Inflation-adjusted income, whether you live a long time or a short time, whether inflation's high or low. The blending of all the different vehicles. You know, if you're in your 60s and you're retiring, who would have ever thought this? But you could live 30 to 35 years, maybe even 40 years without a paycheck. So we better have a solid plan for that. And really looking at your particular circumstance will tell you how much of a roller coaster ride you can take. I'll bet you need some, but it's probably down, it's probably the money that you're not going to touch for a long time. So again, our process, our Retire Fit process, if you will, starts with what do you want to accomplish in retirement? What's going on with your money in relationship to that? Understand that. Look at what any gaps that might exist loud and clear. Where do they exist? Why do they exist? Does it make sense to fix those? Once you see it loud and clear, if it doesn't, that's great. We'll give you more information than it's not great, okay? I hope you fix them, but you'll have information through our Retire Fit process that will put you in charge of your retirement so that you can make better decisions. If you see some issues that you want fixed and you want our help going through it, we'll help you do it the same way. What are the ways that we could solve these issues? What are the pros and cons and strings attached of each tool or grouping of tools that we're going to put together? It's a solid process when we break it down. It makes people feel comfortable because they're in charge and they know storms are going to happen, but because they have a plan, they have calm. And it all starts with picking up the phone and calling us at 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. I'm Jen Rezac alongside, and as we talk a little bit about what we need to be thinking about with our investment strategy for retirement, there is a risk of being too conservative when it comes to where we put our money, though, right? I mean, there is still a need to have some sort of growth somewhere in our plan.
Absolutely. So I want to be perfectly clear. As we get into retirement, most people should definitely be invested differently than they were during their younger years, their accumulation phase, when retirement is way off into the distant future. Definitely should have a different balance. It's going to be different for everybody, depending upon what your goals are and how much you have. But yeah, I can just like I can say you need to make changes with your money, at more than likely that's an absolute. Same thing. Having too much money in safety, unless you have tons and tons and tons of money, that money's only earning 1.5%, maybe 2%, maybe even 3%. That's really going to come back to bite you later on. There are very few people that could actually build a plan that's viable in a rising inflation environment, rising tax environment, that is going to withstand that and get to and through retirement successfully. So yes, you have the risk of being too conservative. Everybody should have some money that's going to grow with them. So it's the balance, and everybody's balance is going to look different, but we should all have that balance. How do you figure that out? You have a plan. You figure out what you want retirement to look like, what you need your money to do, and then you figure out where you're most comfortable to accomplish that. 623-792-5496. We can get you started on that path.
That number again is 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. Phyllis, I know there are just a lot of risks out there that can be damaging to our retirement plans. Talking right now about volatility, but we also have to think about things like inflation and healthcare and higher taxes. So many things can take a bite out of our retirement savings. Talk a little bit about how you help somebody create a plan that can deal with all of those different risks, because they're very different.
Yeah, absolutely. That it's, again, starting with the premise, let's paint the picture of what you want your retirement to look like. What is it going to really cost you to maintain your retirement? Okay. And then adjust that for inflation. And then take a look at the assets that you have, where you have them, what's going on with those, and show that to you. And then figure out, based upon your goals, are you doing the right things? And if you're not, why? And if there are gaps, if there are things that you haven't addressed, once we talk about what you need to address, what are the ways that we can break this up in bite-sized pieces to accomplish that? And it's the grouping of all the different tools. How comfortable you are with different tools comes into play. When you're going to need the money comes into play. What your time horizon comes into play. Whether you have pensions comes into play. Whether you've optimized your Social Security comes into play. Whether you have most of your money in pre-tax accounts where you can have rising taxes later on, or whether you've already paid the taxes, all of that comes into play. But starting with the fundamentals, what do you want your retirement to look like? What are you going to what's your paycheck? What's going to need to be to maintain your lifestyle? And with what you have and what's actually happening, are you on a path to get you there? And if not, what are the gaps? What are the things you haven't considered that you need to consider? And then once you have that, once you identify those issues, how can we build a plan? What's the most appropriate way to build a plan that accomplishes all that? By using different tools. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. Everybody's different. There is no one tool, whether it be stocks, whether it be bonds, whether it be annuities, there is no one panacea. But the combination of everything that you're comfortable with, once we understand what we need to do with the money when, is the magic bullet. And it all starts with understanding what you need your money to do, understanding what you want it to do realistically and what you need it to do. And then slowly but surely getting educated, getting guided as to what's out there to build your plan. That's the magic sauce, if you will. 623-792-5496.
That's right. The secret sauce.
Secret sauce is what Thank you.
Hey, magic works too. Magic, secret, I don't know.
Secret's what I meant to say.
Yeah, they're both good. They're both good. 623-792-5496 is the way you can reach Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates and author of the book, Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. When we get back from this break, we're going to get into some of those commonly asked retirement questions. So many people have so many different questions, and we have some of those questions from you all. We're going to get some answers here from Phyllis in just a few moments. One of those questions, is there really a way to have a tax-free retirement, or is that just a gimmick? Phyllis will answer that question, plus a lot more. That's all coming up next on Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. Stay with us.
Why choose PSP and Associates to handle your retirement? Because we provide objective advice and concierge service. Investments, insurance, retirement planning, all at one location. We also partner with qualified attorneys and CPAs to provide complete financial strategies for our clients. We use a variety of investment and insurance products to custom design retirement plans that can give clients a clear look at their future. And we help you stay on the path toward financial independence. If you don't want to do it yourself, you want to work with a team to create a financial strategy for your future, give us a call, 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Would you rather get retirement advice from some TV show host who doesn't know anything about you, or PSP and Associates? 623-792-5496. PSP is a registered investment advisory firm. Phillis Sachs Pilvinus is an investment advisor representative and insurance professional. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal.
Medicare open enrollment has officially begun, opening up opportunities for you to maximize your coverage and maybe even save some money if you make the right choice. Let Phillis Sachs Pilvinus and her 30-plus years of experience help you pick the plan that's right for you. Give Phillis a call at 623-792-5496 today to get started, or visit PSP and Associates online at pspassoc.com. That's pspassoc.com.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. Jen Rezac here alongside Phyllis Sachs Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates and author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. And Phyllis gets questions each and every week about all things retirement. So let's open our Retire Financially Fit mailbag and go over some common retirement questions. RetireWithPSP.com is the way you can find out a little bit more and connect with Phyllis online. Again, that is RetireWithPSP.com. Our first question comes from Ron. Ron's been worried about what's going on with the markets this year, does not want to take any more big losses. So the question is, Phyllis, how long should Ron be in cash before he tries to get back into the markets?
So, Ron, that really depends upon a lot of things. So, first of all, I understand that we're in a volatile market. You don't want to take big hits, and you shouldn't. But my first question would be for you is, when did you get out of the market? What does that mean tax-wise? Did you take losses? Did you realize those? When are you retiring? What do you need your money to do when? So my suggestion to you would be, let's get proactive, not reactive. Let's understand what you need your money to do. You should have a clear vision of what that money has to do when. How much of that money you need to create income now. How much of that money is for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And once you have all those facts and you understand your tax liability and you understand the whole gambit, how much income you need, then you can decide how much of that money, should be in the market, period, and how much risk, how long you can, before you're going to need that money. And that will help determine your risk tolerance. Let's get your risk tolerance right. So just trying to time the market, I don't think that's smart if you're close to retirement. You need to plan first and then figure it out.
Yep. It's another one of those areas where it's good to get some guidance. Let me just give you the phone number. 623-792-5496 is how you can get started with Phyllis and her team at PSP and Associates. That's 623-792-5496. If you do have questions about what's going on with the markets, what to do, what not to do with your money. Sometimes what not to do is as big of a question as what to do. So 623-792-5496. Sorry, Phyllis, did you have something else to add?
No,
there?
that's okay. I would just say, Ron, yes, our Retire Fit analysis process will give you clear insight as to what you should do when. It really will.
Right. So 623-792-5496 is how you can get started there. Next mailbag question comes from Carol. Carol has worked at a hospital around here for almost 18 years. She was planning to work there a full 20 years before retiring, but this year has taken a toll on her, and now she's thinking about retiring earlier than before. The big question from Carol is, before I give them my notice, how do I make sure I am ready to retire?
So, Carol, this is a perfect example of laying out, understanding what you need your money to do, what you want it to do in retirement, what your budget is, and what your money's actually doing. And to see loud and clear, do you have enough income to get you to and through retirement reliably after taxes, planning for any potential healthcare crisis that we hope never happens. with market ups and downs. Let's let the numbers speak for themselves. Lay it out first, and if the numbers tell you the story you want to hear, you're ready to go. And if not, you can tweak it accordingly. But get the numbers. Our retire fit analysis process, again, or something like that, will put you in a situation where you can make the right decision. Call us 623-792-5496. I'd love to walk you through the process. Again, 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. That number again, 623-792-5496. This is our Retire Financially Fit mailbag. We're going over some of the questions that have been sent in. Phillis gets questions each and every week about all things retirement, so we wanted to take some time here today to answer some of those questions. Our next question today comes from Kevin. Kevin says, we were not planning to retire for several more years, but we've had some health issues come up, and now my wife isn't healthy enough to work, and I think I need to stop working to help take care of her. What do we need to do before we decide for sure?
First of all, I'm really sorry to hear that. And what you should do, again, beforehand is get your ducks in a row. Mm-hmm. Understand where your money is, what it needs to do, how much money you need, and look at the whole picture. And this may be a case where, family first, where you do have to underspend, but it'll be worth the sacrifice for your family.
Yeah.
But get the facts, be proactive, not reactive. Let's get all our ducks in a row. I'd love to help you. 623-792-5496.
And again, one of those areas, Phyllis, where, because my family's in a similar situation. I know my parents have been facing some pretty big, challenging questions as well as they look at when will they retire, given some of the health issues that have popped up with my mom. And I think I told you this one other time on the show. My dad had mentioned that as hard as all of this has been, he couldn't imagine trying to make these decisions while also worrying about money on top of it. And this is why we talk about planning, because you just don't know when you could get that test result or that medical diagnosis that you weren't expecting. And that's why, there's always a chance that something could happen down the road. This is why we talk about planning on the show every week, right?
Yeah, Jen, from the bottom of my heart, this pandemic has taught us one thing. Things that you never could imagine can happen. So if you're within 10 years of retirement, why not have your ducks in the row for the future? Be proactive, not reactive. Why not have it all set up? I call it being retirement ready. Be ready that if something unforeseen happens, that you're set. And you can, streamline things so that you can retire right then and there, because you never know what's around the corner. 10 years before retirement, gosh, that's optimal for laying out your plan. It's never too late, but let's be retirement ready. And that's what our process is all about.
Yeah, exactly. 623-792-5496 to get started on that process, to get some of your questions answered, get some of your concerns addressed. 623-792-5496. Our last question for today, Phyllis, comes from Mike. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Mike just wants to know, do I have to wait until 70 to take Social Security?
Hi, Mike. That's not as simple as you think, okay? It's not rocket science. But, people always talk about maximizing your Social Security. From a logical standpoint, your monthly paycheck, if you wait to 70, is going to be a lot more, because it continues from full retirement age till 70. It's going to grow by 8% compound a year. That's a lot, right? But the whole idea why I say I don't know is, what's going on with the rest of your money? How do you get there? Are you going to go through all of your cash by waiting? Then it might not make sense. Really, we got to look at all the circumstances to not just maximize your monthly payout, but optimize it. Let's take a look at taxes. Let's take a look at all of your other assets. And we run, for everybody who comes in for the Retire Fit analysis, we run the Social Security Optimization Report, which stress tests all the different strategies. And we give you that report, but we also look at it not just in a vacuum, but with everything else that you have going on. We take that into consideration and lay that out for you so you can make a very logical decision, because this is not an entitlement. We want to make sure that you wring out every dollar and cent from Social Security. So don't just make knee-jerk decisions. You don't necessarily have to wait to 70. My real answer is I don't know until we do this analysis, or you get a whole analysis done, not just Social Security analysis, okay? That's looking at it in a vacuum, but your entire analysis of your whole portfolio, your goals, and where you are in relationship to that. Long-winded answer, but that is really, really important to look at the whole picture and look at all the different times you can take Social Security and make a well-informed decision. 623-792-5496. That's what we do all the time. 623-792-5496.
Phyllis, I do appreciate the fact that it was a little bit more of a complicated answer for what seems like a simple question. And as we have just a couple minutes left here in the show today, I think it's important to understand that a lot of the questions that we have, they seem like short, simple questions. Do I have enough? When can I retire? Am I going to be okay? These are pretty short questions, but a lot of times the answers just take a little bit more time to get to, and it takes working with someone who has a lot of experience in this area to get to some of those answers, right?
Yeah, I don't want anybody to think that this is rocket science, but this is uncharted territory for you, where it's what we do all day, every day. And I really believe the biggest gift that we give people at PSP is to bring those things to the forefront, those things that you've not thought about that could unravel your retirement, and in bite-sized pieces, show you the impact of those. Educate you to see the impact that has. Lay it out in bite-sized pieces where it's not rocket science, so that you can see it, so that you can make educated decisions about what you need to be concerned with. And then if there are issues that you have not addressed or you could address differently, once you see it, our job is to not just fix it for you and do it. Later on, you find out you didn't understand it, but to give you choices, educate you about the ways you can fix it. That's what a real retirement plan is, where we put you in charge as the CEO and we educate you to make well-informed decisions so that you get to and through retirement successfully and comfortably. Build a boring retirement plan so that you can have an exciting retirement. Call us today at 623-792-5496. We'll guide you through that process with our Retire Fit analysis. 623-792-5496.
You've been listening to Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here today. We hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. PSP Financial Services is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. PSP Financial Services, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S.